All right, it is 8:03 Tuesday night. That means that we are having our Savvy class, and my name is Amanda Fogel. I'm going to be your host tonight, teaching you all about handling mama traumas. So I don't want anyone to think that this is only for mamas. This actually pertains to everyone. We're going to talk a little bit about trauma. I'm going to go through some of my personal experiences with trauma, and trauma can range from anything from a car accident to losing a loved one. My personal experiences with domestic violence, as well as a miscarriage as well. So those are just different types of trauma, and everyone's trauma is valid. We each go through the different stages, which we'll talk about. I do want to preface by just saying I'm not a doctor. I'm just teaching based off of my personal experiences, as well as information that I have studied and researched myself. So let's go ahead and get started. We have 30 minutes, so let's jump in. The class was previously titled Healing Mama Traumas, but this quote that I'm about to share really got my attention and is the reason why I actually just kind of switched up the name of the class to Handling Mama Trauma. And it says, there is no timestamp on trauma. There isn't a formula that can insert yourself into getting from horror to healed. Be patient, take up space, let your journey be the balm. So we may not even fully heal from our trauma. There might be that lingering feeling in the back of our mind that might be triggered by something. So don't feel as though you're never going to be healed, because you might not. But the biggest thing that I hope that you take away from this class is the different ways that you can handle it. And that's the most important thing, is handling the aftermaths of any trauma that we experience. So let's dive on in. There are three different types of trauma. Trauma, what exactly is trauma? Trauma is an emotional response to a specific event, as I spoke about. Is it a miscarriage that you dealt with? Is it domestic violence that you dealt with? It's usually going to be related to a negative event in our life. And unfortunately, that's life. We're going to go through these different types of trauma. Whether it's acute, is it one single event that caused that emotional response? Is it chronic? Is it repeated? Is it complex? Is it multiple types of trauma? So your acute trauma could be something such as that car accident or that miscarriage. It's that one thing that resulted in that emotional response. Is it chronic? Is it domestic violence, where you're being continuously and repeatedly emotionally or physically abused? Or is it complex? Did you go through a miscarriage followed by domestic violence? I will tell you, that's what I went through. I went through a miscarriage, and then I went through domestic violence and divorce and those types of things. So there are different types of trauma, but the most important thing, again, is to remember your trauma is valid, your feelings are valid. What you go through, and there are different steps that we go through when it comes to trauma. You're going to go through it. And again, the most important thing is how you handle it. All right. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So next, we're going to talk a little bit about the stages of trauma. So there are 7 stages of trauma, and they are very similar to the stages of grief. Grief could also be trauma. The loss of a loved one could be very traumatic for a lot of us. So, of course, that first one, it's going to be that shock and denial stage, the state of disbelief, that numb feeling. I will tell you that when going through the abuse that I went through right after the incident, I didn't really believe that it happened. I sat in a room at night and I just kind of didn't know how to handle myself. And you have those numb feelings where you go through the motions. You don't really think that it happened. You go through the motions of your day, and you're not receptive to the things around you. You're numb. Next is that pain and the guilt stage, where you're feeling the emotions and the physical pain, and you're also feeling like you're a burden towards others, where you're in such a state to where you don't want to be around other people because you feel like you're bringing other people down, or you feel like all I'm talking about is my trauma, and you feel guilty because all you talk about is your trauma. Again, your feelings are valid. It's okay to talk to other people about how you're feeling. All right. And this also goes into making sure that you're surrounding yourself with the right people, because I will tell you, I lost a lot of individuals when I went through the trauma that I went through because they weren't receptive to how I felt, or I just felt guilty putting all that burden on them, where others really just, they took me in, they were there for me when I really, really needed them, and they've stuck around. The next stage is going to be that anger and bargaining. So unintentional, unintended lashing out on loved ones. So I will tell you, I went through all of these stages. I would lash out because of the, and this is the biggest thing, you don't know how I feel, so don't tell me how I feel. I would tell that to so many people. Don't tell me how I feel, or you have no idea what it's like. Lashing out like that, even to ones, again, that stick by your side. It's part of this healing process. Again, you might be stuck in one of these stages longer than another. Also, by praying and pleading for relief for your feelings, one of the biggest things is just reaching out. God, please make these feelings go away. I don't want to feel like this anymore. Just trying to figure out different ways to release that feeling or not feel that feeling anymore, of the feeling numb or feeling sad or angry or guilty. Of course, with trauma, we're going to have that depression stage, where a period of isolation and loneliness. It's also that period of reflection. I will tell you, again, after the domestic experience, I kind of, again, went through the motions. I would go to work, I would come home, and I would sit in bed, and I wouldn't want to do anything else. Thankfully, my mom was my neighbor at the time, and she would come over, she would help me with my daughter. But again, I wouldn't want to do anything, and I just kind of isolated myself. I stopped answering phone calls, I stopped answering text messages. It's all part of the process. It's okay. So the next three stages, this is where things really start to turn. It's that upward turn. So you start feeling less pain, less anger. You start to feel more relaxed. You kind of start realizing that you might be okay, and you are okay. All right, regardless on what stage you're in, you are going to be okay. You are okay in the stage that you're in. The next stage is the reconstruction. You're working through it. This is actually was one of my favorite stages that I have actually gone through in life. I know that's weird to say, by going through trauma, where the reconstruction and working through stage was my favorite, because this was my opportunity to put my life back together where I wanted it to be. Okay. I was able to look at my past life and what I wanted for my future, and mesh those together and decide, this is the person I want to be. This is how I want to move forward. And I started taking the steps to get there. And then last but not least is the acceptance and the hope. You may not fully accept the trauma that you've gone through, but the important thing is that you look towards the future and you see that glimmer of hope, and you know that you have this chance to move forward. And quite honestly, you have that chance to move forward the way that you might there might be a change in that reconstruction phase that might take your life in a completely different direction. And I will tell you, I'm very thankful that during my reconstruction and working through phase, one of my dear friends, Allison, reached out to me, and you might go in these different stages in different orders. You might be in one stage and fall back to another. But during my reconstruction and working through phase, my friend Allison reached out, and that is when she brought up the Young Living opportunity to me, and she brought oils into my life, which helped me a lot through the end stages of my trauma. Now, I will tell you, there are times still where I might go back to the pain and the guilt. I might go back to a slight feeling of depression, or even still, I'm still am very shocked of some of the things that I've been through in life. So you might go backwards, but again, it's working through the process to get to back to that acceptance and hope stage. All right, so some things again that you could use to help you through this process. In the world, there is this stigma about therapy, or if you are in therapy, there is something wrong with you. And I am here to tell you that if you are in therapy, there is something right with you. Okay. Reason being, if you are in therapy, you are accepting the fact that you might need help with something. And it doesn't mean that there's something bad. Yes, when we go through something very traumatic, therapy will be a huge help. I will tell you, no matter what kind of no matter what kind of trauma that you go through, there is a method through therapy that, with the right therapist, they can guide you through the process of the different stages. They're going to teach you about the type of trauma that you've been through. I will tell you that when I was going through my miscarriage, my therapist helped me a lot with teaching me, number one, it happens to a lot more of us than you know. Okay. I will be the first person to tell you, if you have gone through this, it is absolutely devastating. I will always be a person that you can speak to about it. Same thing about domestic violence. If you've gone through it, I feel you, I do, and I understand that you might not know that there are these people that you can talk to, but of course, feel free to reach out to me. Now, again, learning about that trauma too. My therapist gave me books, gave me pamphlets. There's just so much knowledge, and just going through therapy and actually being able to learn about what we've been through to help us get to the other side. Reestablish safety. This is really important, especially for those that have been through any kind of abuse, mentally, physically, anything like that, because you might not feel safe afterwards. Even a car accident, you might not feel safe getting in a vehicle after being in a car accident. So therapy can also help you reestablish that feeling of safety. It helps you identify those triggers, and there will always be triggers. Okay, it might be the smallest thing could be a trigger. So going to therapy could absolutely help you identify triggers, or not only just identify them, but help you work your way through certain triggers, because a specific trigger might make you feel sad and lonely. Another one might make you feel angry. So it helps you identify them and then gives you the right skills. And then it kind of goes into the next one, the right skills and coping mechanisms to get through that without falling into a deep depression or lashing out in anger. And of course, therapy can always help you with decreasing the traumatic stress symptoms, and also practice trauma processing and integration. So of course, therapy will always be my number one go-to. Also followed up by exercise. So I'm a big advocate for exercising because it has helped me a lot, not just with my physical being, but my mental state as well. It decreases sensitivity in the body's reaction to anxiety. So it's going to help you through those anxious feelings. It's going to help promote the growth of new neurons in the key areas of your brain. So it's helping you actually it's helping your brain mentally to assist you with relieving the anxiety and the feelings of depression. It can also be proactive in releasing pent up tension. So if you're feeling tense and you just do like some cardio, or you do, I actually am looking into starting up kickboxing, just to relieve some of that tension and that built up anxiety, and sometimes, yes, that built up anger. It's a healthy way to release those feelings. A big one, when we go through trauma, we could have issues with sleeping. I dealt a lot with nightmares, where I didn't want to go to sleep, or I couldn't fall asleep because I was fearful of having those nightmares. But exercise, again, it's going to help you mentally with releasing that anxiety and some of those fears. And then it's also going to give you the assistance with falling asleep as well. It's going to enhance your mood. So as you're working out, you're releasing, your brain is releasing, I can't think of the word right now. endorphins, that's the word. Your brain is releasing these endorphins that's helping you feel better. It's boosting your energy. I like to work out in the morning because it puts me in a better mood throughout my day rather than doing it at night. And you're also promoting that confidence as well. And exercise doesn't have to be going for a 3.5 mile run. Exercise could be sitting at your house, practicing yoga, do a little bit of meditation. It's exercise. Meditation is exercising your mind. So these are different ways to help you through getting through some of these anxious feelings and the depressing feelings as well. So therapy and exercise, I will say, are two of the best things to help while dealing with the aftermath of going through trauma. Now, of course, this is a Savvy Oilers class. So, of course, we're going to talk a little bit about oils. So, yes, when Allison reached out to me when I was in that reconstruction phase, she had noticed that I wasn't myself. She sent me some oils and I tried them out and they helped me tremendously. I began feeling a little bit more calmer. I was able to think more rationally. And I needed it because I was going through another transitional or traumatic phase in my life of going through a divorce, and that's trauma as well. So I needed additional tools to help me out, and I will be completely honest, I probably would not have gotten through those things without using Young Living products and oils, because again, it helped so much with my mind, my body, and my soul. So in case you didn't know this, when you smell an essential oil, it takes 22 seconds to go from your nose and to react with your brain. So when you are inhaling it, it's traveling through the olfactory nerves. So it's that's your sense of smell. So it's you're smelling it, and it's directly going up into your brain, into your amygdala. So in your brain, your amygdala, that is where your emotions are centered. So yes, they help a lot with the emotional center of your brain. When we go through trauma, one of the biggest things that it is affecting is our emotions. So by having these tools of essential oils to help us with those emotions in our brains, it's going to help us really just get to that healing state of mind. Again, we're not going to be completely healed. I do not believe that there is a full healing after trauma. Okay, it's always going to be with us. The most important thing is how we handle it emotionally. So what type of oils are good with dealing with trauma? So first and foremost, Trauma Life. There is an essential oil that is called Trauma Life. I will tell you, this is my absolute favorite. I had the opportunity to smell this on one of our retreats 2 years ago, and I fell in love with it. So the first time I smelled this, I was going through my divorce. I really just needed just something, and smelling this oil, I kid you not, I did experience like love again when it came to this oil, because it really had a positive effect on me. I was in a very low part of my life, and smelling this oil really just triggered my brain, and I started really just feeling just calm, is how I can explain it when it comes to Trauma Life, because it, as you can see, it reduces those feelings of anger and stress and anxiety. Now, this one, it is a blend, so it is a little bit more on the pricier side, but I will tell you that it is a wonderful oil. I absolutely love Trauma Life. It is in my daily roller that I use every single day. I can thank Allison for that, for bringing that the last time that I saw her, so I could add it to my daily roller. But if you are not able to afford Trauma Life, there are other oils that are absolutely available to help you out with the emotional side of trauma. First and foremost, the Swiss Army knife of oils is lavender. Lavender has a very calming and soothing feel to it when you smell it. Again, remember, within 22 seconds, it's making that effect onto your brain. So it's helping you really just come to a calm state, to calm down and to really just breathe and to just come into yourself. Again, it's soothing. And remember, the sleep aid is very, very big when it comes to dealing with after trauma, to really just help you relax and help you get to that sleep. That's the give you those sleepy feelings to help you fall asleep and to stay asleep. Stress away, then the reaction is in the name itself. It's going to help you be that. It's going to help with that, be a stress reliever. Um, Throughout my divorce, Valor was huge, huge. I pretty much bathed in Valor for quite a few months. It is courage in a bottle. I doused myself in it prior to mediation. I doused myself in it prior to the final judgment. But it is, again, courage in a bottle. It really also helped me in that reconstructing phase as well. Taking different steps and strides to really and help me go in different directions that I might not necessarily have been able to do without having that extra courage or that extra boost of emotional balance. And really just Valor, again, you're going to want that one in your bag at all times, or at least in your daily roller. Joy is one of the first oils that I did try that was in the roller bottle that Allison did send me when she first got introduced me to oils. But it is very, very good for boosting your mood, and it also calms and eases all of those nerves. Another good one is cedarwood. I will tell you, when I first smelled cedarwood, if it smells like cat pee, smell it some more, because that means that you need it in your life. I can tell you it no longer smells like cat pee for me, but I will tell you that if I smell cedarwood, I am in bed within like 10 minutes because I am calm. I'm ready for bed. I will tell you, I accidentally spilled cedarwood one night in my kitchen, and my daughter and I slept fantastically. One good collection that Young Living also has is their feelings collection. I mean, right there, feelings. What are we dealing with when it comes to our emotions? Another word for emotions is your feelings. So the feelings collection with Young Living is also another really good bundle that they have, and it includes present time, forgiveness, inner child, harmony, release, and valor. All of those oils are very, very good with helping you through your emotions. Again, a couple of those we actually reviewed above. Some of those are blends that include some of the oils that I spoke about, but it is a very, very good starting point if you are experiencing the aftermath of trauma. Now, that is the very basic coverage of life after trauma, trying to keep us within our 30-minute time span. You might be thinking how you can get started with some of these products. First and foremost is going to be contacting the individual that invited you to this class tonight. And I want to thank you so much for coming to this class tonight. I know that talking about trauma can be triggering. It could be a trigger for all of us. I will tell you, I lathered up before this class because talking about my trauma, although I am able to talk about it, it is sometimes very hard for me to do so. So I may have stumbled over some words tonight. I may have gotten lost in my head a little bit, but first and foremost, thank you for coming to this class. Next steps for you, if you are not already a Young Living customer, is to reach out to the individual that invited you to this class tonight. And one of the easiest ways, the two easiest ways, is to either just become a customer. You'll unlock 24% off by submitting a 100 PV order, or I highly, highly, highly suggest not just becoming a customer, but setting up a subscribe to save order. This way you could go ahead and earn points towards future purchases to help you get some free items from Young Living. We all love free items, and by being on subscribe to save, and by consistently ordering, I mean, there's so many great products that Young Living has, not just products to assist with trauma, but there's makeup, there's supplements, there's cleaning products, things that you could be ordering monthly, bi-monthly, every 3 months, doesn't matter. Highly suggest getting on subscribe to save in order to get those points. Or if you are already into oils, or you might not be using Young Living oils yet, but you might say, hey, this might be an opportunity for me, go ahead and become a brand partner. You unlock the 24% off, and then you're also sharing. It's very easy to share. I get on here once a month and teach classes. I'm constantly talking about oils and products all the time because these are products that I live by. I use them and literally breathe them every day. And I love the outcome that I see each and every day from using these products. But again, thank you so much for joining me tonight. And I hope that you all have a great rest of your evening.